Do you understand that? 2 minutes. Hi there, I'm Puki Fafariji, and I am your AI bestie, teaching you everything about how to deploy and implement AI workflow automations in your workplace. Workflow that I'll be demoing is the cash flow, a 13-week cash flow automation. I couldn't wait to test out the newest toy on the block, and it did a pretty great job. So I'll show you how to set this workflow up in ChatGPT Work. Now, you can do the same exact thing in Claude Cowork if that's what you use, if that's your LM of choice. But for today, like I said, I couldn't wait and built it in Chat. Once you're done building, this is what it looks like. And this is after I've set it up in my Codex project folder and run through the whole build, putting up the markdown files, putting up what my rules are and the files that I needed to run this analysis. So let me take you step by step through how this whole thing was built up. And the beauty of this is you can actually use ChatGPT chat to, help you brainstorm, help you build the step by step, pieces together to make sure that you're capturing all the thinking parts that you should be capturing to run the analysis. So that part is very important. And you can literally brainstorm, like I said, with ChatGPT to get ideas on what that needs to look like. And it's a combination of what you already know about the business, what are the non-negotiables, what are the limits that must be obeyed, and then you just program all of that into the prompt. Let me show you what that looks like because those are saved separately in a different folder in this workflow. And all that is just if someone who is not me runs this exact workflow, this is the first file that they are going to open. So already it's, nullifies the need for just the same person to keep running the same workflow over and over again. And that gap that it causes when that said person is not available or on vacation or whatever the case is. This is an easy way to set up a workflow that is not dependent on just one person running it all the time. So that's the first starter file that is in here, and it just gives you basic instructions. So it's called the README Markdown file. I've defined what the purpose is, which is build me a weekly 13-week cash forecast. And I say explain it in plain language and an A grader can understand. So I don't want it to give me jargony, context. So I want it to be as easy, as simple as possible, again, so that I can transfer it to whoever needs it as, when the time comes. For my safety rules, I said never invent missing transactions, balances, invoices, dates, approvals, or mapping rules, right? So I said, do not use the internet for a tower run. Do not build if something is missing, right? So do not publish or send or distribute the forecast. So in essence, put it in harnesses and guardrails built into the system to make sure that I'm putting that proactively before building it. And then from a deterministic standpoint, letting it know this is what I want to see, this is what the math looks like. Don't invent math. Don't try to be, don't try to play hero, right? So one more thing I'm going to show you before we go back into Codex is your folder where your current files live. So create a subfolder in your Codex folder on your desktop for all the relevant files that will be needed for this cash flow forecast. And so bank information, AP agent, yeah, all those information, put them in one file really well, then it's just easy to, replicate. So that's what that looks like. Now let's flip over to the Codex. As you can see, I'm already in my Codex folder, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to run it again. And I just typed in one sentence, run the cache using the run prompt.md. So this is where this prompt is, but I just said, hey, go in there and read this prompt. This is my run prompt markdown file. And you can see why it's just easy for me to just type in that one sentence, which is this one that I just dropped into Codex, versus grabbing everything in here and putting it in the prompt, the chat prompt. And so all it's just doing is giving it instructions. So for this local project, I'm asking it read this in order before acting. Check that folder for the files, make sure that they're all updated and they have the required column headings. Don't change the source files. And I'm just giving it pretty much instructions of what to look out for and what I needed to deliver. And that's it. That's why I have it in a clean one liner, run from MD and spit out what the results look like. So let's go ahead and do that. Like, let's let it cook. When you're running this as a brand new project, how you do that is come in and create a new project right here. And once I do that, I go in, select my actual folder, and then that becomes, I'm literally linking this Codex workflow to that folder. So every action that will be taken in this particular project is only specific to this cash flow project folder. So that was something I was going to add that I omitted during this run. So make sure when you're setting this up, once you have your folder with the files on your desktop and you want to run this in Codex, create a new project and then choose from an existing folder on your desktop. Locate where that folder exists on your desktop and point Codex to it. And what you see is Codex will say, okay, now this folder is in this environment. And everything else you're going to be doing, any action you're going to be taking going forward, would reflect directly in this folder. My build is done, and it took me under 2 minutes to do this. Can you believe that? Can you imagine? This is, yeah, it's crazy in a good way. And so this is the time where you then check, do your checks and make sure that everything looks clean. I've asked it for an Excel output and a PowerPoint output. But let's check out what the Excel looks like and what the PowerPoint looks like. And I'll show you one more thing once we're done reviewing the file. Let me just walk you through what each and every tab looks like. There's my dashboard, which is what it has produced. And then it's telling me I need to review. Take a look and make sure that we have the right numbers. But it has my dashboard view, just a clean look for leadership. I have my config file, my config tab. But yeah, you can go wide, you can go deep, depending on how robust you want your cash flow forecast to look. And then I kind of threw in, I like this piece. I kind of threw in like a scenario tab and I built in a mechanism of me being able to do a drop down and just kind of clicking through. I didn't want to kind of hard code figures. So I was just like, okay, if I switched it to this, what does that look like? And everything is live. All the formula is live. Everything is connected. And so just switching that would show you the immediate impact. And so you can play around with what each and every scenario adjustment impact is on the numbers. The PowerPoint, it's a quick 5 slide. You shoot over to your CFO and then probably attach the Excel spreadsheet for details. But if it's just, okay, top of mind, this is what I want you to see. This is a clean 5-pager, just detailing and, just consolidating all that great information and then giving the viewer the opportunity to ask follow-up questions. All this ran in 2 minutes. Do you understand that? 2 minutes. Now, is it 100% perfect? Like I said, it showed us exceptions. So I've built in a method where you force it to call out outliers or you force it to call out errors in the data. But then you still have to take a look to make sure that, okay, everything is buttoned up well, buttoned up tight. I know, I love it. Now, one more thing that takes this to the next level. Say you've built this, you are happy with your setup, everything is great, you've put in your guardrails, you're all buttoned up. You can set this on schedule so that it runs automatically. You can add a scheduled task. And so you see what I just did right there, which was this three dots, click the add scheduled task, and just tell it what you need it to do. So run this every Friday, and then notifications. What do you want it to notify you on? Important updates or failed runs only. So if the run failed, I want it to surface it to me. I want it to tell me so that I'm not just assuming that this is ready when it's not. And so this is a great way to automate your workflow. Put this on autopilot and take your energy serving the business with your brain. Hope you found value in this and see you in the next video.